everyone.
Hola. Hi, Adriana.
Hello. Buenas tardes desde Colombia.
Hello,
Hola,
everyone.
Liliana. Hola, gente bella.
So I am very happy to welcome here Dr. Adriana Popescu, our licensed clinical psychologist, empowerment coach, who specializes in trauma and addiction. Our Dr. Adriana is also certified facilitator from Access Consciousness, as well as talking to the entities facilitator. So welcome very much, Adriana, to our Spanish community. So I would like to give you the floor. So what's holding you back? That's our topic. Welcome.
Thank you. Gracias. I will attempt my very little bit, un poquito español. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. I would really love to get to know other people around the world. You know, I've been very much working here in the United States in San Francisco. And I'm always looking to get the tools that I've been using out into the hands of more people because they are so powerful. And I know I've transformed my life so much in these last 20 years that I've been working with these tools and with Access Consciousness more in the last 10 years. My whole life has changed. My body has changed, my relationships, my finances, everything is different now. And what it has shown me, along with working with hundreds, if not thousands at this point of other people, is how the only thing that is holding us back is ourselves. So what is holding you back? It's you. And it's really your limiting points of view. That's really kind of the focus of what I want to talk about. In Access Consciousness, those of you that are familiar with this particular modality, we talk about how your point of view creates your reality. So if your reality is not the way you'd like it to be, if you don't have enough money, if you have issues with your body, if you have challenges in relationships of various kinds, there's a point of view, a judgment, something, a belief that you have that is holding you back. That is creating some sort of contraction energetically, some limitation, a block of some sort that's not allowing you to actually have what it is that you think you'd like to have. The universe does seem to work from this law of ask and receive. You ask for something, and if you're willing to receive it, the universe will bring it to you. The problem is two things. Most people are not conscious of what they're asking for. So they're running on autopilot and they're running on programs, points of view, beliefs, traumas, whatever it is they experienced generally very early in life, from family, school, religion, TV, movies, social media, all those messages we get from the time we're little children that tell us how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to act, what we're supposed to say, how we're supposed to look. And we come to believe these things about ourselves that may not actually be true. And so those become our points of view that create our reality. So our ask is typically for more of the same. When you're not conscious of what you're asking for, you're essentially asking for more trauma, drama, problems, not enough, all of that. But if you get more conscious with like these tools, if you get more conscious of what you're asking for, then you can start to create something different. So that's the ask part. Now, the receiving part is also a challenge because most people are not willing to receive, again, often because they have these limiting points of view about, themselves or the world. They think, I don't deserve, I want to have a really healthy, happy relationship, but everyone always leaves me because I'm unlovable. Or I'd like to make a lot more money, but I'm afraid that if I make more money, people will come after me for it. Or I won't be able to manage it because I don't trust myself to be able to make good decisions with money. These are the belief system, these points of view, and they're usually judgments, right? It's about making ourselves wrong in some kind of way. I'm not enough. I'm not good at this. I can't, everyone else can do that, but I can't. And so that stops us from receiving, because when you make a judgment, it's like putting up a wall, right? The judgment separates us. And so the universe, you've put your ask out there, and the universe might be trying to bring that money, that partner, the whatever to you, but it can't, because you have a wall there. You have that block, and you won't receive what it is that you've asked for.
Wow, this is really great, this asking and receiving part, and very important to know. So how to be more aware, how to get this consciousness, how to have this congruence in what we are asking for and what we can get actually. So what can you say about that?
I think it starts with questions. I mean, the question, especially in Access, you know, we talk a lot about the power of the question, living as the question, right? So what else is possible? What are my choices here? What question could I ask here? What am I asking for, consciously or not, that's creating the situation? What is the point of view I have that is creating not enough money? What is the point of view I have that is creating, you know, people leaving me, whatever it is, right? Asking questions and then tuning in to your awareness, right? What is the information? And sometimes when you ask a question, you're not going to get an answer, and you're not going to get even maybe an awareness right in the moment when you ask the question. Sometimes you have to keep asking or give it some time, and then the awareness will come. And it might come at a time when you're walking down the street, not even thinking about it, you know? But we want to ask a question and be willing to receive the awareness of what that question, because the question opens up possibilities, right? So I think asking questions is a great way to tune into your knowing. In Access, we talk about how it's all about empowering people to know that they know, and also what they know. So what do you know? Not what do you think in your head, not what do you feel in your heart, what do you know, like in your gut, in that really intuitive level? What do you know to be true here? What is it that is creating what's not working for you? What is this limiting point of view you might have that is creating this? And then what else is possible? What other point of view could I institute? What other way could I look at this? What other choices do I have available? Because so much of the time we're functioning from this no choice universe where we don't even realize that we could actually choose something different. So what else is possible, or what other choices do I have available, are two really powerful tools to open up to other ways of creating, other ways of seeing things, other ways of creating change, really.
Yes, thank you indeed. So, and what can you advise for the people who are in this constant mental chatting and the whole thinking and overthinking, you know? So you have a lot of experience in mental health issues and how to deal with this. Asking for clarity, you know, what can you tell us about that?
Yes, so as a recovering head tripper, I can say that I'm very familiar with this idea of getting stuck in your head like a hamster on a wheel. I don't know how that translates, but like that type of energy where you're just thinking and going nowhere, right? You're just driving yourself crazy. So one might be go outside, go in nature, go for a walk. It's a lot easier for your mind to be quiet when you're not around people. So sometimes the mind is so busy because you're picking up on other people's thoughts. So you get away from people, go out in nature. That's one way. If you can't do that, another tool that I find really helpful for getting out of our head is the expand out tool. It's another wonderful tool from Access. And if you want, I can even take you guys at some point through that exercise. I like to do it as sort of a more meditative. you can easily expand your energy field out and get infinite just like that. But I like going a little slower. This is how Dr. Dane taught us to do it. And when you ask a question from that expanded space of awareness, you have a lot more clarity, and it's easier to get out of the mind. It's almost like you're connecting more with your infinite being. In Access, we call your spirit, your soul, whatever that is, your being, your infinite being. So when you are able to access your infinite being, you're not so much stuck in the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and all of that the mind is so fixated with. So I find that expanding out is a really wonderful tool for getting out of my head and more into my awareness. And the energy of nature kind of matches that as well. To me, it's all kind of like, it's expansive, right? Where my mind wants to contract, the energy becomes more expansive.
Thank you very much. So let's see if there is any question by now from the Spanish chat or from here in our English group. No questions by now?
We're good.
Okay, thank you. So I have taken many classes with you, Adriana, and I really appreciate the way you show us these tools for having clarity and ease with our bodies, with our life, actually. So since you say, so the main or the biggest thing that stops us, that blocks us, is ourselves or we. So how can we get this harmony in order to stop blocking us or stop doing self-sabotage, let's say?
Yeah. Well, at first, it's becoming more aware, first and foremost. I mean, to change anything, you have to be aware that there's something there. So even being here, having this conversation, asking questions, looking at those points of view. What am I thinking here that's creating this? What point of view is this that's creating this problem, this issue, this thing that maybe I want to change? So first you have to have the awareness, and then you have to use some tools. I mean, I did not just change my whole life by intention alone. You know, that was a driving force, was the desire for something different, the desire maybe to not suffer. When I was very ill, I was very, very sick for many years with Lyme disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, all kinds of health issues. And what was driving it was a desire to be healthy, a desire for my body to heal, to be strong. And I knew that it was possible. I knew that the body could heal itself. And so I started studying lots of modalities, acupuncture, chiropractic, and eventually found my way to energy psychology. And it was those tools that allowed me to become, one, aware that I had blocks. I had traumas that were unresolved, that were impacting, that were still locked in my body and had impacted my beliefs and how I saw myself in the world. So I was very much a fighter, and I was very shut down, and I had a lot of walls around me. I was a bit like a fortress in a castle, and nobody could get in because of my early life experiences. So then I started doing therapy, and I started going to therapy and working with practitioners that taught me these tools to address the very energies that were stuck in my body, the different emotions and the belief systems that came with it. And with energy psychology, initially, I was able to start really shifting those energies and started feeling better and healthier. By the time I found Access about 10 years ago, I was 80% better just from having done that work and done, homeopathics and herbs and, obviously some other things more for my body. But it wasn't until I really learned the Access tools that I was able to recognize, one, how much of an empath I am, how aware I am of other people, and we all are, not just me, but all of us are, how aware we are of other people's thoughts, emotions, and their bodies. And I didn't realize how much I was trying to unconsciously, I was trying to fix and heal everyone, not just my friends, family, loved ones, but the clients, because at this point I was in graduate school, I was starting to practice psychology, work with clients, and I was trying to heal everyone. And I was taking it all in, taking in all that energy. I had no tools. I wasn't aware I was doing it, and I had no tools to get rid of it until I found access and the who does it belong to tool. And I started sending back what wasn't mine. I started using the clearing statement and some other tools that you learn in like foundation classes and, you know, different things to let go of these oaths, vows, and commitments that I had to healing everybody. In fact, I had made commitments to heal the entire planet and everybody of their pain and suffering. All right. In other times and places, in other lifetimes, I had made choices that were still impacting me now. And between the energy psychology tools and then the access tools and then working with the entity stuff, those were the final pieces of the puzzle for me. That was the stuff I had been missing, the information I didn't know, and I'm missing the tools. And once I got those tools, I was able to change those things that then really allowed me to become free of these conditions, these health conditions that I'd struggled with for so long.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing with us your experience. And so another question. So Access Consciousness Tools says empowering people to know what they know. So that's why we have classes and we share this whole practices, this whole experience with using the tools. So what is for you empowering people to know what they know?
Right. Well, it's first of all, it's taking a very different position than what a doctor and a doctor of psychology normally does in this reality, especially in the West. You know, we go to the doctor because he or she is the expert, and they're going to tell us what our problem is and how we need to fix it. Right. So we put them up here, and in India and other places, they'd go to the guru, right? Or to the medicine man or to the curandera or whoever it is. And we put this person up on a pedestal and we're here down here lesser than, and we look to them to tell us what's my problem and how do I fix it? I don't look at it that way. I don't have the answers. What I have are tools and questions. So I see it as I am a catalyst for people coming to know what they know. So I ask a lot of questions, I offer a lot of tools, and then I support people in using these tools, learning how to use these tools to create their own changes. I'm not the one making the changes, they are making the changes, and I'm there. It's a bit like a midwife who helps deliver a baby. I'm not doing the labor, I'm not birthing the baby, I'm just there to help the baby get out. And we can see that, I mean, it's a bit of a metaphor for creation, right? The creation of a new life, the birthing of a new reality. I'm there to facilitate and midwife that process.
Yeah, these are really great tools actually to empower ourselves. And I like very much the way you said it is like we grow up with some situation where we go to the doctor or we go to any place to get information that and we stuck with this point of view. That was actually my case because I was diagnosed with psychosis, you know, and all other stuff that I stayed thinking, okay, I may not get rid of that. So, and since I'm using the Access Consciousness tools and this whole cleaning stuff, this is really great, and I can empower myself to find out how to deal with these energies and how to have clarity in my mind, actually, in my life. And thank you very much for this sharing.
Well, and if it's okay to use your story as an example, so many people are basically made wrong for being different. Okay, you were different. You were actually very aware of beings who have no bodies, right? The world of the spirits. You're also very aware of people in bodies. You're just extremely aware. And you know, when that awareness became too much for you, became overwhelming because you didn't have tools and you didn't know what was going on and you just didn't have clarity, you go to the doctor and they tell you, they give you a diagnosis, and this happens in mental health all the time. You got a diagnosis of psychosis. People get diagnosed with schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, and the answer is, here's a pill. Here's a pill that's going to, fix your problem, except it doesn't, right? We know plenty of people that are on pills and still hearing voices, and because those pills don't turn off your awareness. So, I work especially with addiction and trauma, and we see a lot of this. We see a lot of my clients, in fact, turn to drugs and alcohol to try to turn down that awareness. Like even Shannon O'Hara, the creator of Talk to the Entities, in her late teens and early 20s, was doing a lot of drugs because she was so aware all the time of all these different beings, and she didn't have the tools yet. She hadn't asked Gary, her dad, to help her with this yet. And so she was trying to numb the awareness with the drugs and alcohol, but it wasn't working. And in fact, it was like just contributing to her to feeling crazier and crazier. So unfortunately, you see a lot of people getting these diagnoses and given a strategy, which is medication, which has its place. I'm not against medication, but often does not fix the problem, because the problem is you're aware. And what you really require is tools to help you manage that awareness. People do not realize how very aware that we are. In Gary, the creator of Access, has talked about OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. The people who have OCD are actually aware of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of every single person around for at least 8,000 square miles, however much that is in kilometers, a lot, over 10,000 kilometers, that's how aware they are. So that's a tremendous amount of information. Of course, it's going to feel overwhelming if you don't have tools to manage it. So what I really love about Access tools in particular is that it takes the pathology out of these things. Like there's actually nothing wrong with Antonietta, right? She's just super aware. She's not psychotic. She doesn't need to be in a hospital. She doesn't need necessarily this medication. What she needs is tools and questions to be able to recognize, oh, okay, I'm just super aware. And when I'm dealing with the spirit world, in taking these Talk to the Entities classes, I've learned how I can clear entities and how I can communicate with them, how I can receive from them. Like there's all these different things we can do with them. And now it can be a gift to her, like it has been for me as well, rather than, this is a problem and this is creating anxiety and it's creating stress and it's creating all these issues for me. And everyone thinks I'm crazy. Well, what if you're not crazy? Like, I love, the question, what if you're not as fucked up as you think you are? Because you're not. But this reality will say that you are, right? Because this reality, again, is based on the right and the wrong, the good and the bad. And everybody's supposed to look the same and act the same. Like we're all supposed to be sheep. We're all supposed to be. And so if you're different, you're made wrong from the time you're a kid, right? If you're different, you're weird, it's bad, it's wrong. And so many people come to Access with this idea of like, there's something wrong with me. I'm different and that's bad. And, making themselves, they buy into it. They take those judgments, they align and agree with them, and then they make them real and true, and they make themselves wrong. And then they're beating themselves up and their life is a mess and they wonder why. Well, what if you're not actually fucked up? And what if, what if Dane, Dr. Dane, the other creator of Access, says this, what if every wrongness of you is the strongness of you? I love that. And that's how I see, that's the empowerment piece. That's what I see the value of this work, is that it's taking people that are different and not making them wrong, but acknowledging their gifts and capacities and teaching them or showing them tools they can use to use their difference to their advantage to create a life that actually works for them, rather than forcing themselves. In America, we have this expression, force a square peg into a round hole, right? How many of you have been doing that your whole life, trying to fit yourself into a hole that is not for you? And what if you didn't have to do that anymore?
Great, amazing, really. So let's check in the room if there is any question. Maybe we have in our Spanish community any question. Okay, and no question by now. Okay, so there is no question in the Spanish chat. So best regards to everyone there in the Spanish chat. So Adriana, you have in the coming weeks classes. So these empowering tools. So would you like, do you have any question, Lilian? Ah. Open your mic, please, Lilian.
So hi, Alma is asking here, what tools are they used in Access?
Okay, so I've talked about a few of them. I've made reference to the clearing statement. In Access Consciousness, we have a clearing statement that shifts and moves energies going all the way back to the point of creation where this point of view got created. That changes a lot, the clearing statement. I talked about who does this belong to? That's another tool that we use a lot so that you get more awareness around, is it your stuff really that you're thinking, feeling, or are you picking it up on it from everyone else? When you recognize that what you're aware of may not be yours, you can send that energy back to whoever it came from, even if you don't know. So who does it belong to, and return to sender. I talked about questions, the power of the question, living in the question, living as the question. So a question empowers and is going to give you more awareness. I also talked about a tool called Expand Out, which I'm happy to kind of, as we end this, I can guide you guys, and it's a nice exercise, expanding your energy field out so that you can access more of your awareness, more of your knowing. Was there anything else? I think that was the main ones I referred to.
Yeah, that was it. So the who does this belong to, that was for recognizing other thoughts, feelings, and emotions from other people. So to be empowered, to acknowledge that we are empowered also. This was another. So thank you. Lilian, open your mic.
Okay, Cruzita is asking, well, I don't know if there's actually a question here, but I will read it, okay? My situation is that when I want to begin a business or some project that will give me money, everything goes down. I tend to, when I'm planning, all is nice and easy. You put here, you take there, you do the steps, but then I cannot go on. And at the end, I get frustrated.
Yeah. So I would be in that case, that might require some facilitation, with a facilitator or in a class. But I think the way I might approach that would be to ask some questions. Are you actually willing to have success with your business? Is it what you actually truly desire to create? Is that your desire to create it, or is it somebody else's? Are you just doing what someone else wants you to do, or what you think is the right thing to do? What's actually true for you? And if it is something you truly desire, then I would be looking at what might be some limiting points of view that are stopping you from being able to follow through with the project. Is there a fear of some sort there? Fear and doubt. In Access Consciousness, we call them distractor implants, because they distract you from your knowing. They distract you from your power and potency to create. So we might do some clearings around limiting points of view you have about being successful, about following through with things. Maybe it's around money. Are you willing to receive the money that you're asking your business to create for you? So there could be a lot in there that you're not even yet aware of, but in asking questions about it, the information will come and more clarity will come. And then you can use a tool like the clearing statement to shift those limiting beliefs and allow different possibilities to show up. Great. Yeah. Yeah, so I do have a couple of classes coming up, a couple of access classes. I will be doing a foundation class. So some of you know, kind of the beginning class in Access is Access Bars. I'm sure many of you have taken Access Bars classes. And then from there, many people go on to take the foundation. Gary and Dane do a global foundation every year. It was just in Mexico last weekend. I was online for it in Puerto Vallarta. And every year from that class, the foundation class manual gets rewritten. And so I've scheduled this class for the end of April. It's over 2 weekends. It's a 4-day class, but I teach it over 2 weekends because my weekdays are so full with work and clients and all that. So I do it over 2 weekends, and I'll be doing it here in San Francisco in person and also online. And these lovely ladies are going to help with Spanish translation for anyone who would like to take the class but doesn't speak English. And in this foundation class, we teach all of these basic tools and many, many more. We do tons of clearings in different areas of your life: money, bodies, relationships, all those things. So it's a really, really life-changing class. And it gives you get a big manual with all the clearings and tools. You get the recordings from the class so you can listen again and again. And it empowers you with these tools to begin to start changing your life, to create a new foundation for your life that will allow you to have more of what you're desiring to create. So that's a really, really cool class. And what I love about foundation is even if you've taken it before, you can take it again and it'll be different each time, because it's different based on who's in the class and the questions they're asking, the issues they're bringing. It's different with each facilitator. It's different every year when the manual changes, and this will be a brand new, fresh manual. So that's really exciting. I've taken probably 10, 15 foundation classes, at least 15 foundation classes myself at this point. And I learn something new each time. I get new awarenesses every time I take it. So that's one class. And then I'm doing another class, the Talk to the Entities Introduction, which is a single class, hour and a half that you can take just to learn more about the Talk to the Entities. And then the Talk to the Entities beginning class, which will be only online over Zoom, over 8 sessions. So in the month of April, every Tuesday and Wednesday for an hour and a half, we will meet. We'll teach the basic tools of Talk to the Entities. We teach how to clear entities, how to communicate with them, how to receive from them, and how to cooperate and collaborate and create with them, because they can actually be a huge contribution to your life, to your business, to your bank account. So that's been a very fun area to explore as well, to give you some tools in that area. So that's what I've got coming up. I don't know if anyone has any more questions, but I would love to end with an expand out if people are open to that.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Let's go for it. Thank you,
Okay.
Adriana.
Yeah, so you might want to close your eyes for this, but you don't have to. And this is really just super easy. It's really asking your energy field, your aura, some people call it, right, to expand out past your body and let it fill the room that you're in. If you're in a car, let it fill up the car. Whatever space you're in, let that energy field, your energy, expand out in all directions. And then let it expand out even more until it occupies the whole building that you are in. And then you keep expanding out in all directions, now down into the earth also and up into the sky, until you're as big as the whole street or block that you're on. And then you let yourself get even bigger until you're as big as the entire city or town that you're in. And you go that far down into the earth and up into the sky. And then expand out even more until you're as big as the whole state or province or county or whatever area, district you live in. and then get as big as your whole country. And then you keep expanding out, getting even bigger. And let's connect North America and Central America and South America, get as big as all that, so we can all now kind of start connecting with each other. And then let's expand out even more until we're as big as the whole planet. So encompassing all of the continents, the oceans, all the way down to the molten core at the center of the earth. And then keep expanding out, get bigger than the planet. Now expanding out through our solar system, going through and past the sun and all the other planets, out into our galaxy, and continuing to expand out through the hundreds and thousands, millions, and even billions of other galaxies that science tells us are out there, all the way out into the infinite reaches of the universe. Now, this is the space of you as an infinite being. Notice what it's like. What happens to all that mental chatter when you are in this space? What happens to all the drama of your life, all the problems and everything that seems so significant when you're in your head and you're tripping and worrying and stressing about things? How does your body feel when the energy is more expanded out? Is there a difference in your body? Do you notice more space, more ease with anything? I find that when I'm expanded out, just things seem a lot more relaxed. They're not so intense. They're not so uncomfortable. And I find that if I ask questions from this expanded out space, it's easier for me to get clarity around what's actually true for me. When I'm in my head and I'm thinking about this and thinking about that and that and that, I get confused. But if I expand out and then ask my questions, I get a lot more clarity. The light and heavy tool that some of you may be familiar with becomes a lot clearer to me. And I try to stay in this space as much as I can. The more I function from this expanded space, the easier my life gets. So this is a wonderful tool. I did it very slowly, but again, you could just say expand out and boom, just go to infinite. Play with this. See how this tool works for you. It's one of my favorites, and it's really great when you're in crowds, you're on an airplane, you're in a bus somewhere, and there's all these people, and most of us want to contract and make ourselves small so we don't, feel all their stuff. But if you actually expand out instead, it's like there's so much space in your universe that their stuff can't even affect you. It just goes right past you. So I think it's a really wonderful tool, and I love sharing these tools with everyone. So I'm super grateful for everyone who has tuned in today and who will be watching this in the future. Gracias to all our Spanish speaking friends. And if you want to find out more about my work, you can go to my website, adrianapopescu.org. I'm all over YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all the social media platforms. And I have a lot of stuff, SoundCloud. I have a lot out there, and I have some stuff in Spanish also. So SoundCloud has a playlist in Spanish if you want to check it out. And I would love to see you all again, whether it's on one of these chats or in a class or wherever we may meet.
Thank you very much, Adriana. Thank you, everyone here in our English Zoom and also for our Spanish group. Thank you very much, Adriana. See you next time.
Gracias.
Te llegó la